Almost every Malaysian has walked into a 99 Speedmart, and you've probably been there dozens of times already. It's just the shop near your house, the place you stop by when you need something quickly. Milo, bread, Maggi, nothing fancy, nothing premium, just an ordinary neighbourhood mini-mart. But behind those shelves is one of the most powerful retail networks in Malaysia. More than 3,000 stores nationwide, billions in revenue, listed on Bursa Malaysia with a market value of around 29 billion ringgit, and somehow it still looks completely ordinary. So, exactly how did this tiny neighbourhood mart become one of the biggest retail empires in the country? Before 99 Speedmart, retail scene in Malaysia was highly fragmented. Most neighbourhoods relied on kedai runcit, family-run, limited in size, and sometimes attached to the owner's house. Now, here's where Malaysia's economic context becomes important. In the late 1980s, Malaysia began pushing aggressively into industrialisation after the mid-1980s recession, and the government introduced the Promotion of Investments Act in 1986, offering tax incentives and more flexible foreign ownership rules to attract foreign investors. And at the same time, global forces also played a role. And after the 1985 Plaza Accord, the Japanese yen appreciated sharply, making manufacturing in Japan much more expensive. And as a result, many manufacturers relocated production to lower-cost countries like Malaysia. And the result was a surge in investment. Foreign direct investment (FDI) jumped from 2.1 billion ringgit in 1987 to 17.6 billion ringgit by 1990. Industrial zones expanded, factories multiplied, and construction accelerated, especially around the Klang Valley region. But rapid growth also created another problem: labour shortages. To support the expanding economy, Malaysia brought in a large number of migrant workers. By the late 1990s, there were already 1.7 million foreign workers, roughly 20% of Malaysia's labour force. And many of these workers were paid daily or weekly wages, which shaped how they spend their money. So instead of buying groceries in large quantities, many households bought only what they needed for the next few days. And at the same time, Malaysia's housing structure made neighbourhood shops even more convenient. Shop lots and taman developments were tightly packed together, which meant people could easily walk to the nearby stores. So instead of doing large grocery runs at hypermarkets like Mydin, Econsave and Billion, many households preferred smaller and more frequent purchases at nearby shops because they were closer and required less spending per trip. So, in this kind of environment, the format that worked best was not hypermarkets, it was the neighbourhood stores. And in the middle of this environment, someone noticed the opportunity. His name was Lee Tiam Wah. Unlike many entrepreneurs, Mr. Lee did not come from a corporate background. He had polio at a young age and he didn't have any great education. But he understood something most people miss: retail happens at street level. In fact, he started with his savings of just 17,000 ringgit to open a mini kedai runcit called Pasar Raya Hiap Ho in 1987. And that shop became his MBA course. He learned how customers behave, how suppliers operate, and what actually sells. And basically, everything that makes a retail business work. And 5 years later, he made a bold decision. He sold the business and started a new concept called Pasar Mini 99. And the idea was simple: serve low-income households and migrant workers with affordable essentials. And it worked. By 1998, it had already expanded to 8 outlets across Klang. But here's where most people misunderstand retail. Many would think more stores should mean more sales, and more sales should ideally mean more profit. But in reality, scaling is exactly where most businesses collapse. Because once you move from one store to multiple stores, the problems multiply. Inventory has to be coordinated across locations. Suppliers must deliver consistently. And cash flow becomes tighter because every new outlet needs stock, rent, and also staff to run it. And logistics suddenly become complicated. 1 or 2 stores can still be managed manually. But once you reach 8 to 10 stores, the old kedai runcit model simply doesn't work anymore. and Mr. Lee realized that very early. So instead of expanding blindly, he restructured the business and rebranded it as 99 Speedmart. And the key move came in 2002 when 99 opened the very first head office and distribution center in Jalan Kapar in Klang. And that was the turning point, because once the distribution center was built, deliveries could be coordinated. Every new store could be supplied from the same system, and opening the next outlet suddenly became much easier. But before we go further, let's be honest, investing in the stock market is not easy at all, especially when you're analyzing companies like 99 Speedmart. Competition is intense and every earnings report can move the price, so that's why having the right platform actually matters. So this video is sponsored by Webull Malaysia, a trading platform licensed and regulated by the Securities Commission Malaysia. If you're interested in the US market, you can now jump into it with zero commissions, and existing customers can enjoy zero commission trading until the end of 2026, while new users can enjoy it for 1 year from account activation date. And as for Malaysia stocks, the commission will be 0.05% with a minimum of RM2.50 only. And on top of all of that, they are also giving the followers of this channel an exclusive reward. Deposit 1k and keep it for 60 days and you receive RM200 worth of Nvidia shares. So all you have to do is sign up with my link down below and use my code Z888 when you deposit. This offer is available until the 31st of March 2026, so don't miss out. Terms and conditions applies. So how did 99 actually scale this business? At the start, Mr. Lee had zero bargaining power. As a small owner at that time, he had to follow price levels set by the suppliers. So instead of chasing short-term profit, he focused on the long game, building volume. Because in retail, size changes everything. Bigger orders mean lower unit costs. So as 99 grew, suppliers stopped seeing it as a small buyer. They started treating it like a distribution channel. And at the same time, because he built relationships with suppliers and also avoided dragging out payments, this further strengthened supplier confidence. And that's how the flywheel started. Now, add geography into this. In 1998, Mr. Lee had 8 stores, all in Klang. Not because he loved Klang, but because density saves money. Clustered stores mean one delivery truck can restock multiple outlets in a single trip. Logistics cost per stop drops. Inventory moves faster and their shelves stay full. And because 99 stores sit in small neighbourhood shop lots, rental costs also stay low while turnover stays high. And that combination is powerful. Now, another advantage comes from store size. A typical 99 outlet is roughly 2 to 3,000 square feet, but if you compare that with hypermarkets, it can easily exceed 100,000 square feet, and it's a completely different operating model. In retail, productivity is often measured by revenue per square foot, and in this case, smaller stores can actually be much more efficient. Because rent is one of the biggest operating costs, 99 Speedmart uses most of its space purely for selling, and roughly 75% of each outlet is dedicated to retail shelves, while only about 25% is used for storage. So that's why when you walk into some 99 Speedmart stores, you might see cartons temporarily stacked on the floor, and this happens because most inventory is held at the distribution centers, not inside the stores. So the outlets are designed mainly for selling space, while stock is replenished frequently from the warehouse. And because the stores are small and standardized, opening new outlets becomes predictable and cost efficient. And a typical new outlet requires about 500,000 ringgit in total to set up and stock. So with strong sales volume, new 99 outlets usually have a payback period of less than 3 years on average. And when every square foot is generating sales, the model becomes extremely scalable. And that's what makes the operating model so light and so repeatable. Now, another factor is labor efficiency. Because the stores are small and the layouts are standardized, most 99 outlets can operate with only 2 to 3 staff per shift while still maintaining long operating hours. And the store format itself is designed to be simple. The shelves follow a consistent layout and inventory is restocked frequently from distribution centers. So because of that, stores do not need large teams to keep operations running smoothly. And when you combine smaller store sizes, lower rent, lean staffing, and clustered logistics, the overall cost structure becomes extremely efficient and very difficult for larger retailers to match. But here's the interesting part. When costs fell, Mr. Lee had a choice: raise margins or lower prices, and he chose the second option. For years, 99 Speedmart has operated with a thin gross profit margin of around 11%. And to put that into perspective, if a carton of eggs sells for 11 ringgit 60 cent and the gross profit margin is 11%, then the gross profit per item is approximately 1 ringgit 28 cent. And that 1 ringgit 28 cent is gross profit and not net profit. And it still has to cover rent, wages, logistics, and operating expenses. So there's almost no room for inefficiency. But that's exactly the point, because once 99 scales to thousands of outlets, thin margins become a competitive weapon. Lower prices brings more customers, and more customers bring more volume, and more volume strengthens bargaining power. But here's the real question: how do they actually profit? So the key is speed. 99's inventory turnover is around 49 days versus an industry average of 66, and that gap means 99 converts inventory into cash much faster, and when cash comes back faster, expansion becomes easier. Now, think from a supplier's perspective. If a retailer can move your product faster than everyone else, what would you prioritize? So that's where the distribution network becomes valuable, which is why big brands like Nestle, Dutch Lady, DKSH, and also others work closely with 99. And at that point, suppliers are not just selling their products to 99 anymore. They are paying to access its distribution network through handling fees, product display fees, and also advertising fees. So that's how the thin margin model works. So because of all of that, the company generates roughly 1 billion ringgit in revenue every month, and net profit in Q4 2025 grew from 124 million to 157 million ringgit, precisely because of its high volume model. But there's more from 99 Speedmart. Originally, 99 was only for small and high-frequency shoppers for people like you and me. But as the business expanded, a different type of demand started to appear, and that's bulk buyers. Think of restaurant owners, small businesses, or even families preparing for parties. But the problem is, if bulk buyers empty out the shelves, customers will lose access to the products they want and go to other stores instead, right? So that is why 99 Speedmart came out with a bulk sales initiative in September 2023 to solve this problem while also retaining small customers. Instead of fulfilling large orders from retail shelves, they are fulfilled directly from warehouses, either via delivery or self-pickup at the outlets. And this protects shelf availability while increasing overall sales throughout the same supply chain. And this is where 99's DNA becomes clear. So, once a retailer becomes part of daily life, policy support can then strengthen the model even further. When MySara was rolled out under the Sumbangan Tunai Rama STR framework, it introduced a new layer of spending into the retail system. MySara basically provides eligible low-income households with digital credits that can only be used to purchase essential goods like food, beverages, and household necessities. And that matters because those are exactly the categories where 99 Speedmart is the strongest. You see, before this, 99 sales depended mainly on household income and buying habits. But when MySara was rolled out, part of that consumer demand became predictable. In other words, part of that spending is now supported by government policy. And since the program is restricted to household essentials, a big part of that spending naturally flows into neighbourhood shops like 99 Speedmart. And that's why this year, continued refinements and budget allocations under the MySara signal that essential support spending remains an ongoing feature rather than a one-off policy. For 99, this creates stronger demand visibility and more stable volume. And so in the past 3 months, 99 Speedmart's share price has risen nearly 30% as the market increasingly view 99 as a main beneficiary for the MySara spending channel. But as 99 Speedmart scaled aggressively, it began to put pressure on incumbents like KKMart. As of today, 99 Speedmart operates over 3,000 outlets compared to KKMart at only 900 outlets. Meanwhile, KKMart is reportedly targeting a potential IPO listing in the second half of 2026 at a valuation of 3 billion ringgit, significantly smaller than 99 Speedmart, which listed in 2024 with a market cap of 13.9 billion ringgit. You see, 99 Speedmart has built one of the most efficient retail supply chains in Malaysia. Today, it operates 19 distribution centers and 618 delivery trucks, controlling the entire logistical process from warehouse all the way to the stores. And that also makes inventory oversight much easier for them. Mart, on the other hand, positions itself as a 24-hour convenience store with more than 9,000 product varieties, and that increases the operational complexity and limits the ability to monitor incoming inventory. And that difference became visible when product oversight issues at Mart turned into a public controversy. From a business perspective, it exposed how supply chain governance and inventory vetting are not just compliance issues, but can also directly affect brand trust and consumer traffic. And EcoShop, on the other side, also debuted on 23rd May 2025 with a market cap of 7.18 billion ringgit. And since listing, its valuation has increased to 9.15 billion ringgit. And its operating model is fundamentally also different from 99 Speedmart. EcoShop runs on a fixed price strategy with its brand identity closely tied to a single price point, and that simplicity strengthens its value perception, but it also increases sensitivity to price changes compared to 99 Speedmart. And in a fixed price model, rising costs compress margins unless prices are adjusted. And when prices change, consumers react quickly. And that dynamic became visible when EcoShop saw an 8% decline in sales growth after raising its selling price from 2.40 ringgit to 2.60 ringgit as consumers took time to adapt to the new pricing. And 99, on the other hand, operates in a variable pricing framework. It does not anchor its brand to a single price, but instead, it reinforces affordability through promotional initiatives to capture the mass market demand when their prices are already affordable to the public. And this flexibility allows 99 to absorb cost pressures selectively without breaking the price perception of the public. So let's zoom out for a second. Mart and EcoShop are both in a value retail game, but they are playing different versions of it. Mart leans into convenience and EcoShop leans into price simplicity, but 99 Speedmart, it leans into infrastructure. And in a price-sensitive market like Malaysia, infrastructure sustains the scaling. But here's the bigger question. If this model works so well in Malaysia, can it also work somewhere else as well? In August 2025, 99 marked its overseas debut by opening its first outlet called 99 Minimart in Fuzhou, China. But China is not Malaysia. Retail there runs at a completely different pace. You can't just open stores near customers. You can't just be slightly cheaper. You have to compete on structure. And this is where the challenge begins. China already has one of the most competitive retail markets in the world. The country now has more than 300,000 convenience stores led by major domestic chains like Meiyijia, which operates over 37,000 outlets nationwide. And these retail chains already run established networks and have spent years optimizing their logistics and procurement systems. And at the same time, China's technology companies have also reshaped the entire retail landscape. Platforms like Taobao and Tmall, backed by Alibaba, are also part of the broader commerce ecosystem that integrates fast fulfillment, digital traffic, and also real-time inventory systems. And many retailers in China are no longer just physical stores, they are also part of technology-enabled retail networks. And consumer behavior in China is also very different. Chinese shoppers are extremely comfortable buying everyday essentials online. They are used to aggressive digital promotions, group buying platforms, and also ultra-fast delivery services that can bring essentials to their homes directly. And platforms like Meituan Grocery and also Jingdong Daojia can deliver groceries within 30 to 60 minutes in many cities. And these services are supported by dense warehouse networks and also delivery systems that operate almost 24/7. And what this means for 99 Speedmart is that in China, physical stores are no longer competing only with other stores. They are directly competing with an entire digital retail ecosystem. And in Malaysia, 99 benefits from geographic density and neighbourhood shopping. But in China, those advantages don't translate as easily. And that's why analysts describe 99's China debut as a long-term strategic expansion rather than a short-term earnings boost. And the intention here is not immediate profit, but to see whether the same operating system can work in a much more competitive market. As for now, this is only the beginning. China is the first step and the path ahead remains uncertain. As for 99, the real test has only just begun, because if the model works in China, it proves the system can also work beyond Malaysia. And Mr. Lee once said, the number 99 reminds them that nothing is perfect in this world. It's a reminder that nothing is flawless and no business is invincible, but you can always strive to be 99%. And maybe, just maybe, that philosophy explains why 99 Speedmart keeps growing quietly but relentlessly. Thanks for watching.